What's happening, my homies? We're back again. I'm ready to finish it off. We're going to do a wide receivers now. Now, I know when I tell you this is the best fantasy advice out there, you probably think it's just some bullshit or some BS, but it really is. So, anyway, these are slightly out of order, and I'll explain why. Only because really the guy with the most upside here is Mike Williams. And so he's the number one guy. You probably can't get him. He's probably already off the waivers. But still, I put a few extra in here so you can see where these guys rank at. And so if you need someone with the most upside, a guy who could eventually be your wide receiver one, then that's Mike Williams. Keenan Allen has a tremendous injury history, as we probably all know. And so Mike Williams, being a number one overall pick, I believe was drafted with the intention of taking over for Keenan Allen when he gets injured. So, and this could be his moment. If you saw the game, there was a moment where it looked like Keenan Allen pulled up in his hamstring, and I thought, ooh, Mike Williams is going to be a stud. In the case that something happens to Keenan Allen, then Mike Williams is going to become an instant number one. I don't believe Tyrell Williams or Travis Benjamin are going to be able to, take that number one spot just because, for whatever reason, I don't think they'll be able to. Mike Williams is a stud, and he's only in the second in the pecking order because Keenan Allen is so good and he's been there so long. He's such a good technician. And so, but raw talent-wise, Mike Williams is ready to burst. So he's your top guy, in my opinion. And, now let's talk a little bit. One of the reasons why I put these guys up here, there's a reason why Allison and Ridley are up here. And a lot of people are overreacting to Ridley because he had that one game with 3 touchdowns. And that's what people do. Someone has a big game and people think that the guy is great, or someone has a bad game and they think the guy sucks. In reality, the chances are more likely that they were double teaming Julio and they were leaving Ridley more open, and finally Matt Ryan was hitting them. Okay, so when the next team sees the tape, they're going to see that Ridley got 3 touchdowns, and they're going to make sure that they don't leave Ridley wide open this time. So this will eventually pay off for Julio as it spreads as the teams can't focus on him as tightly anymore, because there are other wide receivers that Matt Ryan can use in that offense to beat you if you're a defense. So that means you can't really focus just on Julio. So it's going to be good for Julio. Now, here's the reason why he made it up here, even though I just said that, you can't overreact. The schedule going forward is very, very favorable for wide receivers, okay? Especially for Atlanta wide receivers. So their schedule is very favorable, and on top of that, in the playoffs, let's say week 14 and 15, 16 and 17, for example, Atlanta has a fantastic schedule. So, there's going to be those days when Calvin Ridley goes off. It's going to be partially because the defense is bad, and the other part is because the defense is focused on Julio Jones. So because of the playoff schedule, and if you follow my teams, I have a lot of good teams, and I always anticipate I'm going to be in the playoffs. So I'm always building for the playoffs. I'm not trying to win now. I mean, I am every week trying to win. I never lose sight of trying to win the game at hand. At the same time, you always want to pick up players with upside. Okay, with the most upside, people who could later on give you a huge advantage or maybe be a nice trade piece. So Ridley has a super favorable schedule. Now, Allison, I believe, is the number 2 wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers. So that's pretty valuable. What most people were assuming Cobb is, Allison is, and plus a little bit more. So Allison is better than Cobb. Even Allison is better than what people thought Cobb was when they thought he was good. He's a really good wide receiver. The Packers are always good at getting wide receivers, or actually probably Aaron Rodgers is good at making good wide receivers look great. And so either way, number 2 wide receiver on a team that struggles to run the ball but has Aaron Rodgers at the helm, that's going to be a good, favorable position. So I don't see that really going away, but Cobb is still there to eat those targets. So he's just a very nice ad. And then I told you Mike Williams, I think, is really the number 1 ad if you still had him on your waivers. Chances are all 3 of these guys, Ridley, Allison, Williams, are off your waiver right now. But that's okay. I have something for you. I have the next Will Fuller. Now, as soon as I say that, people probably immediately want to push back against it. But I just use that as a way of describing the type of player and how he's going to get his points. Okay, Antonio Callaway. Now, he's not that much talked about. There's a little hype about him right now that's why it's important I bring it to your attention, and that's why it's important you jump on him now, because as soon as he has a good game this weekend, it's going to be over. Then you're going to be trying to place a waiver claim and having to outbid people in your fab. This way you can just go pick them up right now and drop one of your lower players with not as much upside and pick up Callaway. And the reason is multifaceted. Okay, for one, the guy is a round one talent. Okay, he had a little off the field questions, so he fell in the draft. So if you push that aside, you realize he's a number one wide receiver talent. His skill set is speed and depth, kind of like Deshaun Jackson. So keep that in mind. Imagine you've got a really super great deep wide receiver, very athletic, round one type talent, and now you have Baker Mayfield just getting his opportunity to throw the ball. So that's going to be the deep threat, and I think Baker Mayfield throws one of the best deep balls in the game. That's the reason why he was so highly touted, as it wasn't just all the other stuff. The main reason was that deep ball. So they're going to throw the deep ball. They didn't really get a chance. Baker Mayfield came on off the bench this week. He's going to be starting, and we're going to see how it looks when he's throwing the deep ball to Callaway, and this is your chance to go get him now. And on top of that, the schedule is super favorable. Not necessarily the playoffs, but the rest of the schedule for the Browns wide receivers is very, very favorable. And Landry's going to suck that defense into the middle. As Landry's getting target after target, those defenses are going to suck in. And believe me, Baker Mayfield is going to let it fly, and Callaway's going to catch him. And he's going to get 2 touchdowns a game sometimes, and they're going to be deep touchdowns. So he's going to be putting up some big numbers, and this is your chance to get him cheaply. So hopefully you can make room for him. And then I put John Brown up here, even though he's pretty much off the waiver for most people. But just to give you an idea where I think Callaway is right now. And I think that after this week, it'd be tough to push out Mike Williams. But if Keenan Allen is back, I just think that also another thing is the pace. The pace of the Browns is going to be quicker, meaning they're going to run more plays. This is a big deal, you guys. Just like in Miami, how Kenyon Drake is a great player, but he's not getting the reps because they don't run a lot of pace. They actually slow it down. So I'm using that to show you exactly how that matters. None of the players are really scoring a lot of points, even when they'd have a good game, because they only get so many touches. But in the Browns offense, I suspect they're going to run a up-tempo offense, going to mean more plays, and they're going to take shots. They're going to be aggressive. They've got a lot of great players, so the defense can't just focus on them. And here's a great thing, their defense is good, which means they're going to be able to create turnovers and favorable scoring situations. So I really like Callaway as probably one of the few Browns that's still available. Right now with Gordon is out of there, and Callaway, they're going to want to make use of him. He's great. He really is a stud. So and let's just talk about Enunwa real quick. He obviously is getting the catches, but his touchdown upside is limited, so that's why he doesn't get up there with all those catches. And I'm not buying in on Boyd exactly. Let me see a little bit more. It seems a little fluky to me. You got AJ Green there, and you also got Ross there, and they've had an injured running back. And so I want to see what happens when everything's running. And right now we don't know what's really going on. Just because he had a couple of games, a lot of people are already putting him into wide receiver 2 territory. I don't even think he's a pickup. For me, he's not even on the bench. That's just my opinion until I see more. Godwin, I like Godwin, but one thing I hate about Tampa Bay is owning one of their wide receivers, and if your guy doesn't go off that day, it just sucks for you. And I like wide receivers who are the focal point of the offense. And even though he's got touchdown upside, he's got Calvin Ridley type upside. It wouldn't surprise me if he got 3 touchdowns. But with Deshaun Jackson and Mike Evans and O.J. Howard and it's just like who knows who's going to get it. And I don't like playing. It's kind of like Russian roulette with your wide receiver. He's got the upside, but he's also got the downside. And I'm against that. I want to know or have a more upside and a lower or a higher floor, if you will. And then Kirk, we'll mention him real quick. We got Rosen is just coming in, and so they have a rapport, and Larry Fitzgerald is there, and they're probably going to throw the ball. So, I don't really want to pick him up, okay? Like I said, I wouldn't pick up Godwin, and I wouldn't pick up Boyd, and I wouldn't pick up Enunwa. But that's where I have him ranked. So this is about where I would not pick anybody up. Hopefully you don't have to go that deep, but look at Callaway. All right, so you heard it here first. You've probably heard it a couple other places, but I'm telling you right now, he's going to be a stud. You're going to have a lot of 150-yard games, 2 touchdown games. So I'm excited to see what happens, and you know what I'm saying. So if you want more, make sure you like the video, give me some support, and then also subscribe. You feel me? All right, I'm out, and next I'm coming out with tight ends. We're gonna do tight ends real quick, and then we'll see what happens next. All right, I'm out.